In this video, I wanted to provide a quick overview and some helpful tips and tricks for exam one. So I'm going to share my screen real quick, and hopefully this is helpful for you guys, because I know that you guys are stressing out. So you're going to go under learning modules. So remember, exam one is going to cover module two, module three. So 1, 2, and 3. So once you click on module one, make sure you read and understand the objectives. Then when you click on online material, so fair game for your exam is all the chapters of Claywell and all the chapters of Giddens. So remember, ATI is not included. This is just extra to reinforce the chapters and Gideon's and Claywell. So real quick, the easiest study methods that I highly recommend is when you click on a chapter. So let me share my screen real quick. So for instance, you clicked on a PowerPoint presentation and you're going through the PowerPoint presentation. So it's really important as you're studying, you understand the material on the PowerPoint. So if you understand what objective data is, then great, move on. If you understand what subjective data is, great, move on. So for instance, let's say that you go to this slide and you're like, what is Gordon's functional health, right? So if you don't understand the 11 categories of Gordon's functional health, I strongly recommend you review that. So I'm going to give you a quick example. So I'm going to stop share. So what I like to do is I like to create Google Slides. So as you can see, everyone has a Gmail account, Google account. So you just go in and create a Google slide, and you can title it Exam 1 Study. So for instance, let's say that you do not understand what Gordon's 11 categories for data collection is. Well, in this slide, I would, just copy paste from your PowerPoint slide, Gordon's 11 categories for data collection. And then you can either list it on the next slide, right? Or you can list it on this slide. So remember, Google Slides is nice because it can be synced throughout all your devices. So if you're at a bus stop, or if you're at a doctor's visit or grocery shopping and you have a couple minutes, you're waiting in line to pay for your groceries and it's a long line, so you can just pull out your phone and look under Google Drive and click on exam 1 Google Slides, and that's where you can study. So repetition is key. So going further, let's say that you don't know what Gordon's 11 categories is. So then this is where you put that information. Another helpful tip is creating a question. So for instance, I have a question here. The nurse is using Gordon's 11 categories for data collection and performing a health assessment. Which of the following represents assessment of cognition? Right? So if you don't know what Gordon's 11 categories is, you won't be able to answer this question. But if you do study it and you know what it is, then you can answer it. So this is a fill in the blank, and the answer is asking the patient's educational level is an assessment of cognition. So that's the answer. So the best thing to do is, as you're looking through all of these online materials and you're clicking on, chapter 1 PowerPoint, and you're looking through it and you're like, okay, I understand this. You move on to chapter 2 and you go through all the PowerPoints and you're like, okay, I understand this, then you can move on to chapter 3. Whatever you don't understand on those PowerPoints, make sure you copy paste it on a Google slide. And then once you have all of the material that you don't understand on the Google Slides, that is what you need to study. So again, why I prefer Google Slides is because you can sync it throughout all your devices. So you have it everywhere and you can just study. Same thing for Giddens. As you can see, there's a lot of chapters. So review chapter 39, whatever you don't understand, you can copy paste it on Exam One Study Guide and Google Slides, and you can study from there. All right, the next thing I suggest is utilizing ATI. So going under ATI, going under test, and then, get back in that testing mode. So you can click on quizzes, and then you want standard quizzes, and then you can do, whatever you think is necessary. So you can do maternal. All right, so remember, the reason I picked maternal is because you guys skipped that course, and it's important that you review all this material by testing yourselves, right? So utilize ATI to the fullest extent. All right, so utilize ATI to the fullest extent. As you can see, the quiz has 1 to 30 questions. When you read the question, be sure to, pay attention to the stem of the question. Which of the following findings should the nurse identify as the priority? So what's the priority? When you answer, be sure to read the rationale for each of the questions. So again, get back in that testing mode. All right, another thing that I like to use is other sources as well. So you can download from the WCC library. There's books on NCLEX questions. You can go to your local library, grab some books, but study, study, study. You have tons of questions on ATI. Use it to the fullest extent. So this is another source that I use, and this question is regarding potassium sparing diuretic. So when you read the stem of the question, pay attention to the wording. So here it says, the nurse determines that the client needs further instruction if the client states that which food is high in potassium. So remember, you have to pick the option that best answers this question. So real quick, you have kiwi, celery, oranges, and dried fruit. So if you don't know, which option has potassium, you can kind of use the strategy to answer this question. So a good strategy is, well, this is a fruit, this is a vegetable, this is a fruit, and this is a fruit. So it might make sense to pick the vegetable because I don't think celery has a lot of potassium, and the client, if the client picks celery, he needs further instruction. So let's see if that's right. Okay, it looks like it is correct. And then over here, I can click on rationale, and it's saying, this is celery is a vegetable that is low in potassium, right? And then what it was the strategy. So the strategy was a negative event query. So the alike options are fruit items. So they were all alike, and vegetables the only different one. And then a nursing tip is also included here. So hopefully that is helpful for you, and you can pass your exam with a 78 or higher on the first attempt. All right, thank you again. Email me if you have any questions.